Hi, how are you? Good morning, good morning. You guys kind of match today. Your sweaters.
Who's that?
No.
Kasi ko velvet.
No. I didn't realize that until now.
No. Magkala yung talaga. So,
No.
Kaya, di ba kayo chip to sa iyo, Rasa? Ay, bakit? Eso fue como mirar el espíritu. ¿Roberto? Ya. ¿Roberto le va a mañana?
Hey, Zeba. How are you? You guys switch sides today? What's happening?
Try something this way. I might get like confused if I said something like this.
His backpack is this. It's ginormous.
Oh wait, is that the?
Oh, yeah, it's my birthday. Oh, good.
I did
Oh, it's Pi Day.
It's hiding.
Oh, I get it.
Good morning, Nina. A quick reminder for teachers to please play the video announcement. Thank you and have a great day.
Alright guys, happy Pi Day! Who knows why it's Pi Day today?
Because it's the third month, and it's the 14th.
314, so happy Pi Day guys. I'm representing. Some of you guys are taking geometry this year and hopefully you'll get to celebrate in geometry class. Unfortunately in Algebra 1 we don't do a whole lot of celebration because we want you to save it for geometry class and have a great time next year with it, but I just wanted to remind you that it's Pi Day today. And you might see some geometry students and might be able to get some pie off of them because they're eating a lot of it today. So happy Pi Day guys. In science also, yes, I know, at least Miss Applewhite is celebrating for sure. Guys, the video announcements didn't work because I just clicked on it and said the video was private, so if they send it to me by the end of the period, again, then I will be happy to show you guys. How are you guys doing today? Meh? Meh? Okay. Are you guys all wearing comfortable shoes today?
Yes.
Sure.
I hope so, because we're going to be doing an activity that requires comfortable shoes. So I hope you're wearing something that either is comfortable or you can pick someone in your team who's going to be able to be super duper athletic in order for your team to win. So,
I'm not wearing these shoes outside.
guys, today we're going to start off by talking a little bit about money. So take a look here. What do I have in my hands? A $5 bill.
Oh,
Does it look
money.
pretty juicy to you? Yeah, Luis has his eye on it. Craving it right now. Okay. Now, how many of you would like this $5? Okay, it's pretty much everybody. Now, how about if I do this to it?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, it's still money. Still money.
So, who would like it now? Really? on it, even though it's crumpled.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay?
Change the value.
Now how about if I crumple it and who still wants it? You all still want the money?
Yeah.
How about now?
Yeah. Sure. Still money.
Then how come I can crumple this up, I can step on it, I can even stomp on it, and it doesn't change its value? But in life, we let people step on us, we let people hurt our feelings and crumple us up with really mean things that they say. We let people stomp on us, and then to ourselves, our value changes. Why is it that this piece of paper doesn't lose its value, but human beings, our value can change? And the truth is that it doesn't change when people say really mean things to us or do mean things, or if you get that F on that test, it doesn't mean that you're less of a person, just like this didn't change its value. But we let ourselves believe that we are less of a good person because of it. I want you to keep this in mind as you're getting to approaching the point of the semester where you're taking your tests, you might be getting results you don't like. Maybe after you saw your friends when you came back from break, everyone was so excited to see each other, but now you might get into arguments with them, or maybe someone says something hurtful to you. Maybe a sexist comment, maybe a racist comment, maybe just a plain mean comment. If the money can't change the value, guys, human beings certainly, our value doesn't diminish. So the next time you see a 5 foul, I want you to remember that. And I want you to remember that high school is full of roller coasters, full of times where people are gonna say very hurtful things, and beyond high school, it can get even worse. Okay, you're gonna go through lots of relationships, you're gonna go through breakups, and there are gonna be times where you're gonna feel depressed because something's not going in your life the way you want it to go. Maybe you're a star athlete and then you break your leg and suddenly you can't do what you've been so good at. Your value as a human being does not go down, just like the value of this didn't go down. Okay, so please keep that in mind, just a little food for thought, and sorry, I need this, so you're not gonna get it. Oops. He thought by the end of that, he was gonna finally get it. All right, guys, please take out your homework assignment from last night. Oh, you know. Have that out on your desk, please. And the markers are in the front of the room. I'm gonna come around and give you a stamp if you completed the whole front of that worksheet. And because you're gonna hold on to it so you can complete the back side. So I'm not gonna collect it quite yet. And what I would like you to do in the meantime while I'm doing that is please put up any questions that you have. The markers are here. And feel free to sign up for any problem you would like to sign up for. Go ahead, guys, just a couple minutes to get that done.
Louis, put my. Miss Amy,
Yes.
what has 4 wheels and flies?
It has 4 wheels and flies. Oops. I stepped the wrong page.
No, I latched on it.
Oh,
That's
okay. You better have it all done. Okay, like if you stamp, I'm not doing that. I don't know.
garbage truck.
Those are the 2 wheels.
Why is it white?
Flies because it's dirty. There's flies.
But it doesn't fly.
And flies. Like F-L-I-E-S, flies.
Yeah, I get it.
Well, it
but-
doesn't fly, so it has those.
Okay,
It has those
okay. Ha 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 ha.
What was
Knee
it?
slapper.
That was funny.
What is she wearing?
How does a garbage can have 4 wheels?
Okay, guys. And let's take a look at those answers.
How long that was?
A garbage can has 2 wheels.
Grace, can I do number 9 now?
Did you sign up for it? Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please? All right, great. Guys, I want to remind you that by the end of this month, you need to have 2 presentation points. Right now, Jesse, you could use 2. Cami, you need 1 more. Dylan, you need 1 more. Aiden, you need 1 more. Seba, you need 2. So everyone else, they're good for this month. So Viola, if you would maybe let someone else who might want to take it first. Great. Guys, let's go ahead and check out the answers. Okay, please check numbers 1 through 6, and when you're ready to move on, raise your hand.
You know what? Listen to me. Can you show us again how to simplify things down? Because that's probably why I got all of them.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we'll go over some.
Because you didn't simplify it down.
Okay, when you're done checking those 6, guys, I'm waiting for your hands. Please raise your hand when you're ready to move on. Great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the rest of them. Let's see. There's the, almost the rest. Okay, there we go. Now here, you'll notice they put these multiplication signs. You don't need them. You could just write 8mn square root mn. So you don't need the little multiplication sign. Okay, is there someone else who needs participation credit who would like number 9?
I need it, but I don't know number 9. So.
Put 7 up.
Here, put it on this side though. Let's
I
start
can do
it off.
7.
Can you put 13?
Here, come on up. Come put it up. Don't be lazy. Come on.
13. 13.
Lewis asked me first.
Okay, guys. Let's do a quick review while these guys are still finishing putting thumbs up. And if anyone wants to sign up for 13, go ahead and do it. Let's do a quick review on how we simplify radicals. Jesse, you got 13?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Come on. All right, and Viola, you can come, or sorry, Aiden, if you want to work on number 7. All right, so if we have something like this, then we really have 3 parts to this radical, and we're going to break it up part by part. Okay, so take a look over here. I'm going to break it up per number or variable using the product property. The product property says these are all multiplied together, so I can split them up in their own radicals multiplied together. Now, within each one, I can simplify each one separately. So square root of 40, if I take a look at 40 and I think about what factors make 40, I'll go through what factors do you guys think of? 20 and 2, what else?
10 and 4.
10 and 4, what else? 5 and 8, and 40 and 1. Now I'm looking, the only ones I care about, I don't care about the biggest number. I care about the biggest perfect square. Which one out of these is the biggest perfect square?
8.
8 is a perfect square?
No.
What number squared gives you
sorry.
8?
That's 4, right?
4 squared gives you 8?
16.
4 is the biggest perfect square. That's correct. 4 is the biggest perfect square. So I'm going to use these factors to split it up. So now, square root of 40, I'm gonna split it up into these factors. Which one should I write first?
4.
Why the 4? Because it's what, Nicole? The perfect square. The perfect square should come first, and then 10. And you guys are with me over here? So now, let me finish this number out. What's the square root of 4?
2.
And then square root of 10?
5.
You just leave it. You can't split that up more. Yeah?
No,
We're not dividing by 2. Be
Yeah,
careful
yeah.
on these. All right, now, square root of y to the 8. What number squared gives me y to the 8? Y to the what? To the 4th. Because remember, you're going to multiply these. So we're essentially dividing the even exponent by 2. So that was just y to the 4th. Y to the 4th, if you bring it down all the way. And x to the 3rd. Is that a perfect square? So I have to break that up into what? So I do subtract 1, that'll give me the biggest even factor, and the leftover 1, because if I add those exponents up, I'm going to get 3. So now, what's the square root of x squared? X, and square root of x, just square root of x. Now at the end, we're going to put everything that's outside of the radical sign in front. So I have 2 y to the 4th x, and everything inside the radical sign together like that. That would be the answer. Okay?
Yes, so why is 7 4 instead of 2?
Why is 7 4 instead of 2?
Alright, so I got pretty much that answer, except like I got a 2p to the square root of 20.
Okay, let's do number 7, and I think I know what happened to yours. I'll do it here since it looks like no one else volunteered to do it. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split these up using the product property. I'll split it up into the number and each type of variable. 80, think about 80. What are the factors of 80? And think about perfect squares. 4 times 20,
10
times 4.
same thing.
10 and 8.
10 and 8. Okay, maybe that's all you can think of right now. Out of what we have, what's our biggest perfect square?
4 to the 1.
4. So hold on one second, Jess. So now, let's say I use this, okay? So which one should I write first? 4, because it's the perfect square. And now let me finish it off. So what's the square root of 4? 2 root 20. Now, is this done? Because you can break it down more, right? You can break that down more into a perfect square. So how do we break down 20? 4 and 5. So I have the 2 in front, don't forget it. I break that down, 4, 5, and what's the square root of 4? Is this going to be 22 now? What's it going to be?
4.
Times 2, these are multiplications, so 2 times 2 and root 5, so I get 4 root 5 in front, okay? And now here, p root 3, what do I do with this? Okay, so p squared and p, what's the square root of p squared? P and square root of p. What goes out in front? The 4 and the p, the things outside, what goes inside together? 5p. Okay? Now, Jess, you noticed something from the beginning. You had your hand out. What did you notice?
You can also, 2 other factors, you also have a 16 and 5.
16 times 5. Now imagine if we knew that from the very beginning and we split this up to 80 into a 16 times 5, then immediately we would have gotten 4 root 5 and we would have skipped this second whole process. But a lot of times we can't think of the biggest perfect square right away. Okay? And so if you can't think of the biggest perfect square, that's fine. Do it and then realize if it can still be broken down to another perfect square, you're not done. Keep going.
So you know when to break it down more, when?
When the number, the radicand, the number inside the radical sign, can still be broken down to a factor that's a perfect square. 20 can be broken down to 4 times 5. If this was 90, for example, inside, we still know it can be broken down to 9 times 10. 9 is a perfect square. So as long as there's something that's a perfect square as a factor, break it down. A lot of times people get something like this, and they're like, oh, but I'm pretty sure I can break 6 down, and it just looks like it, especially the even numbers look like it. You could break it down to 3 times root 2, but neither of those are perfect squares, so that's not going to help us. We're going to end up putting them back together anyways. So it has to be able to be broken down to a perfect square. Before we have our presentations, Jesse and I were having a discussion before you guys got in here, and we were talking about how can you figure out the factors? Because guys, these are big numbers. Like some of these you know, 264, 28, fine. But like 147, people don't know the factors of 147. So my recommendation is think about your perfect squares. Okay, here we know these are the numbers that make our perfect squares. You should have at least through 13 squared memorized. Okay, think about what you get for these numbers. These are really the only numbers that matter, okay? Any other factors like this doesn't matter to us, okay? Anything that's not a perfect square is not a useful factor. So, my recommendation, and 1 isn't gonna help us either. So my recommendation, when you get a crazy number, like let's say inside the radicand I gave you something like 365, and you're like, okay, this is gonna take me forever to figure out the factors. I would just go through and see, with my calculator, and I would say, okay, 365 divided by 4. Do I get a whole number, yes or no? If I do, great, that's a factor. If not, I cross it off. Then 365 divided by 9, check it. Then 365 divided by 16. I would just go through the perfect squares and see if any of those are the factors. Okay, instead, because who cares if it can be divided by 2 or 3? 2 or 3 are not perfect squares. Neither is 5. Neither is 6. So I don't really care if those are factors. These are the numbers I care if they're factors. Does that make sense? So no matter how big the number is, don't freak out. You'll have a calculator. You'll just split it up and see which perfect square is it divisible by, and keep going until you've exhausted the list. All right, with that being said, we're gonna have Dylan present over here, and who's this over here?
Me.
Jesse? Okay, great. Dylan and Jesse. So Dylan, come on up. Question, what's up?
For example, I'm doing this. I mean, here it doesn't matter. But how do you know which one goes out?
Sorry, Dylan, 1 second. V squared is the perfect square, because that's the only one. V to the what squared is V squared, just V to the first, so square root is V. This, there's nothing squared that'll give you just V. There's no number, so that's why that's still square root. Okay? The one with the even exponent. Do you have a question?
One more.
Okay. Can we wait until Dylan is done? So, because he's been waiting patiently. All right, guys. Dylan is ready to present. Let's give him our undivided attention, please.
So the problem is the square root of 147 m cubed times n cubed. And first I separated the 147 into 49 times 3. And since 49 is 7 squared, I could take that out. And I could make this, and since I knew that m squared and n squared was times another n, and m would make m cubed and n cubed. So I took those out, and when I put those together, I'd get 7mn, and since the 3 and the m and n were left over, it would be 7mn roots 3mn. That's it.
Okay, nice to big round of applause. Any questions for Dylan? Okay, Dylan, thank you very much.
And that's
No, because when you break it up, it's only products, factors that multiply together. Yeah, that's a good question.
Hamburger.
Okay, guys, let's give Jessie our undivided attention, please.
Alright, and number 13 was root 16 u to the 4th, v to the 3rd. And so I immediately saw 16 and said, I can square root that into 4, so I brought the 4 out. And I saw the u4, and I said, that's an easy one to square, and I brought out the u2. And then I split the v up into v squared and v, and you get 4u squared v root v.
Excellent. Any questions for Jessie? Good work. Give me a round of applause. Okie doke, guys. Any other questions from the worksheet? Any other ones that you're you're doubtful on, because today we're gonna continue to move on, so I want you to feel really comfortable with these kinds of problems. Did you have a question?
Yeah,
Please.
on third, I still don't understand where that, how come like the final answer.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. Ladies, that is the last warning. Then next time you're split up for the rest of the class. Do you understand? When your peers are asking questions, you should be paying very close attention. Okay, go ahead.
I'm still confused on where like, other to put the variables on the outside or the inside.
Okay, good question. So let's take a look. Let's just concentrate a little bit on variables. So when you have square root of w to the 11th power, okay? Now, remember that if we had something like w to the 10th power, the square root of w to the 10th power, we're looking at what w to the what power squared gives me the radicand, w to the 10th.
5.
And so we know this is 5. How do you know this is 5?
5 times 2.
Okay, 5 times 2, the properties of exponents, these guys multiply together give you this. So essentially, we saw the pattern was that when it's an even exponent, all you're really doing to is dividing the exponent by 2, and that's the square root of it. Okay, so the square root of that's going to be w to the 5th. Now when we have an odd power, we're not going to just divide it by 2 because we're going to get a decimal. So we're going to break it up. The same way that we can't get the square root of 80 without getting a decimal, we broke it up into factors. The same thing, we're going to break this up into factors. Now, the highest perfect square, the greatest perfect square, just like here we want to find the greatest perfect square, is going to be the even power closest to this power here. So w to the 11th, if I subtract 1, I'm going to get an even number, which is w to the 10th. And w to the 10th times w to the 1st gives me w to the 11th, right? Product property says you can split it up into its factors, so 10 plus 1 is 11, so I can split those up. This means the same thing as this. And now that I've broken it up like that, I can break it up like this. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody confused about how I broke this up or why I broke this up? Okay, now that you're at this point, remember to what we just did here. W to the 10th, I can take the square root of that. We divide the power by 2 because we do the opposite of the exponent rules. So we got w to the 5th. So this one, we're taking the square root of it, so it comes out of the square root sign. When you take the square root of something, you don't put it back in the square root sign, it comes out. This one, there is, if you try to think about w to the what squared is w, just w to the 1st, there is no integer, there is no whole number. Okay, there's no whole number here that I can multiply by 2 to give me 1. It'd have to be a fraction. So that's why this is not a perfect square, so it stays inside the radical.
So the perfect square goes outside and then.
The one that, because you're taking the square
Yeah,
root of it.
okay.
It's like when I take, this is a really common mistake, and maybe this happened to you, Luis, because your number was small. This is what I see students do. Watch what I'm about to do. Square root of 16. Students go, oh, square root of 16, cool. And then they're like, oh, square root of 4, awesome. And then they go, okay, 2. What's wrong with this?
You
already saw the square root of 16, so this shouldn't be there.
I already took the square root of 16. So it doesn't go back into a square root once you take the square root of it, okay? When you take the square root of 16, you're asking yourself, what number squared is 16, and your answer is 4. So the answer is 4. It's not the square root of 4, because the square root of 4 is 2. You don't keep taking the square root until it just exhausts the process. You stop. It's out of the square root sign, just like here. It comes out of the square root sign when you take the square root of it. It doesn't need the square root sign anymore. Only when you didn't actually take the square root of the sign, that's when it stays in the square root, because you didn't actually take the square root of it. Yeah. In 1 second, okay? Give me just a second. Any final questions about this and any other ones that you had doubts on? Because we're going to move on, so I want to make sure you feel really comfortable. You can do this a lot in geometry, a lot in algebra too. So you really, if you can have a solid foundation now, you'll be much better off. Okay, guys, please take a 1-minute break. At least you can run to the restroom. A 1-minute break. If you have any other doubts or concerns, let me know, and then we're going to take out our notes, okay? How did it go for you guys? Did you guys get all your answers right? So how come you're not asking questions and you're talking?
Because they're also asking, and I also had a little doubt with the.
Okay, but you should not be talking while other people are asking questions, because then you're gonna miss it. Yeah.
Three answer is 16. Yeah, 8K.
Okay, because 8 cannot be broken down more.
Yeah.
So what?
4.
Okay.
Have something.
And then when you take the square root of 4, what are you gonna get?
Okay.
2, and then 2 times 8 is 16. Same thing here, it's like here.
Yeah, because I got this one, I was like, okay, it's the same one, and then I just